Lately, I wanted to scratch my JRPG itch, and there are no better platforms to play a good old-school JRPG than on the PS1. I heard a lot of good things about the Wild Arms franchise, so I fired up the second game and gave it a try. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything about this game and if it is worth playing today. I'm also going to share you a trick which is going to make your playthrough much easier if you want to play this game. My name is Mr. Zosta. Welcome on the Backlog Quest. Let's play some Wild Arms 2. When I started to play the game, my very first impression was that the font used in the menu and the dialogues is horrible. I needed quite few hours to get used to it. Tell me, is it just me or the fonts are really difficult to read? But it's funny that you can change the style of the icons, the theme of the menus, you can even set custom colors for the background, but you can only have one type of font. I would probably finish the game sooner if I would be able to read the damn text easier. And yes, my eyesight is perfect, so please do not send eye test watchers for me. Anyway, let's get over this and see what Wild Arms 2 is about. What is good and a bit different is that the story takes place in a modern setting instead of a typical medieval world, which is a good refreshment if you want something different from the traditional old-school RPGs. Before the main story starts, you have to choose a character, which was interesting as I did not see this in many JRPGs. So let's see what kind of characters we can choose from. Our first option is a young man who is ready for action. Quite generic. Okay, the second one is a former hero who is now a war criminal. And last but not least, a young sorceress who is just getting started. Hold on. A war criminal? You can play as a war criminal? I've never ever seen a war criminal as a playable character in any JRPG so far. Fucking hell. Anyway, my favorite JRPG characters are wizards, but I don't want to play with a little girl, so I'll go with the guy. No, not with the war criminal. As it turned out, my choice did not really matter, as you have to play through all of these characters to get their background story, and all these are taking place in the prologue. This is a nice way to introduce the characters, instead of just random text in a conversation. Let's talk about the story, which is a long tale, and it is a bit overstretched and it drags a bit longer than it should in my opinion. I do not mind the long story if it is good and engaging. I don't want to rush through a good RPG. In Wild Arms 2, sometimes I felt that some events were not really necessary and did not add to the value of the story. Like when I had to chase a cat through the roofs of a town. That was really a moment when I said, is this really necessary? What was a refreshing experience for me in this game, that you're not a hero on your own and do whatever you like. Instead, you're a leader of an elite military group called Arms, who receives orders from your superior. He gives you quests and basically tells you what you have to do next. The story takes about 10 hours to really start to develop, and around the 8-hour mark, I started to make Google searches to see if the story gets better, as I was on the verge to stop playing the game. As you guys know, and I keep saying this in my videos, that if I'm not enjoying a game, even if it is a very high rated game, I do not waste my time with it. Luckily, the story picked up pace and I started to get interested, so I went on with my journey. Let me introduce you the search function on the overworld map. Fucking hell. It does not make any sense finding towns and signs like this, and it is frustrating as hell that I have to walk around the map, keep pressing the search button, as a huge ass town is not visible otherwise. I would like to ask a question from the developers if by any chance they are watching this video. You guys been high when you have decided that this would be a good idea? Okay, finding random items on the map with this function is okay, but when I'm standing literally at the front of a huge town, I cannot see it, but when I press the search button, wow, it is there. In a way, I can see why the developers wanted to achieve this, but to make the exploration more realistic, as you have only clues where your next location is, so you literally have to search for it. This could work with a hidden trapdoor or something, but with a town, it is not realistic and it just adds to the frustration. Also, you can avoid any random encounter if you keep pressing the search function, as this resists the encounters. Speaking about the encounter rate, it is not bad. The battles are quite fast, and you can set an auto battle option as well, however, I never really used it. The battles are your generic turn-based battles. If you played any similar JRPGs before, you're not going to have any problems here. The enemies are quite generic. There are a lot of different ones, you can even track which one you met so far, but the monsters are not really memorable or interesting. Sometimes they are even silly looking. I have to have mentioned the mage characters though. The mage cannot cast a spell at the start of the round. A physical attack needed to gather enough FP points, which is basically the mana in the game. This can be bothersome until you reach around level 14, where you have enough FP points to cast a spell. So here, you not lose mana, you generate it in every turn. And after the battle, the gained FP points will be lost. First, I thought that this is a bad thing, but I would say this is an interesting take on the character development. I also have to say, this never affected my battles or frustrated me. And now, let's take a look at the female mage character. Do you notice anything strange on her? No? Let me help you. The umbrella. Why she's using an umbrella? A staff, or a rod, or a damn spellbook. But an umbrella? I don't know, they probably wanted to make her cute, or she's afraid to get soaked in case it starts to rain. I don't get it. The funniest thing is when she physically attacks a boss with the umbrella. But, to be fair, the other mage character, which you meet later in the game, has a rod. Also, you cannot use spells outside the battles, which I found it weird. It would be good to use a healing spell between battles, but you have to refer to healing items, despite you have a mage with healing spells in your party. It's not affected my gameplay negatively, but I found it weird. To build up your FP points with your characters in the battles, you can use powerful skills and also special attacks, which are using bullets from your weapon. These are much more stronger attacks. I use them mainly for boss battles, as you have to restock on bullets. Speaking about the boss fights, they are quite frequent in the game, but they are not really difficult. I never struggled with any of the bosses too much, never really had to find out their weaknesses. I just hit them with strong attacks, and that's it. This was probably because I maxed out my skill points on health early game, and later the physical defense skills as well, so this is my tip for you if you want an easier playthrough. Once the battle is finished, and negative effects on your character will be removed. This definitely makes the game easier, but I think the negative effects should stay after the battle. There are quite few skills in the game, and in each town you can spend points on to build the character what you like. I reached quite high level with my characters and I could spend points on skills that I considered good, however, the game could be more generous with the earned skill points. At this point I have to mention that I did not grind at all. Sometimes I just a bit to earn money to spend on gear, so probably this is the reason that I did not receive that much skill points. But I did not felt that I should grind as the game was quite easy for me. You can also create spells in towns, which is also cool. You can choose which spells you need, and you only create those. In this way you're not going to have lots of spells which you never use. It's definitely a positive thing for me. However, there's a downside of this, as you cannot create spells often and you are stuck with a few very basic ones like fire or ice magic for quite a while. I like to use different cool spells in RPGs, so the lack of options here was a bit of disappointment for me. You can upgrade your weapons as well, and spend money to develop the hit rate, the damage and the amount of bullets the weapon can use. There are maximum 10 levels, so you need to plan which attributes you are going to upgrade. It's also a cool feature in the game, I liked it. There are a lot of puzzles what you need to solve in the dungeons. It's really a hit or miss for a lot of people, as someone just want to go explore, fight and don't want to be bothered with puzzles. On the other hand, there are people who like to solve puzzles. Most of the time I'm the former, but I do not mind some lightweighted puzzles. It adds to the variety of the game and breaks the monotony of the gameplay. In Wild Arms 2, the puzzles are easy most of the time, but there are some which are quite difficult to solve. Not because I'm mentally handicapped, but because the solution is hidden somewhere where you would not think to look for the solution. But the solution is not really straightforward, so I had to refer a walkthrough a few times. You can switch between your characters when you're walking around, and you can use their special abilities which sometimes needed to move through a dungeon, throw a danger, kick something, or use a bomb or a fireball spell. What I hate in some RPGs when there is no quest log or anything where you can check where you're supposed to go next, especially after you not played the game for a while. Luckily, here we have a cool feature, which is a Communicator, where you can call your superior and it gives you information where you're supposed to go next or what you have to do. The good thing that he is useful and gives you useful information. You also have a compass, which is visible all the time. First I thought that this is useless, but because you can rotate the camera around, this comes handy, as even for some puzzles you are going to use. It's a minor thing, but first I hated the running, as you cannot turn while you run. After I realized that you can sleep if you release the run button, and you can do cool things sleeping around and turning and continue running. So this is a positive thing again. I would like to mention the music in the game. I do not really mind the music in games. I notice when it is good or improves the atmosphere, but here the music is very repetitive. Especially at the battles. You listen to the same music every battle, and it gets very repetitive and boring after a while. This can be said regarding the overworld map as well. They really should use at least 2 different tracks. There are a lot of optional quests in the game for those who want to take a detour from the main path. I did not make any side quests, I was not interested in them. I'm not saying that they are bad, I just not felt doing any of them. I have to mention the humor in the game. There were a few occasions where the dialogue of the event made me smile or laugh, so this is another positive aspect of the game. And sometimes really unexpected things are happening, like here, when the NPCs turning into zombie-like creatures while you're on a fancy dinner. After that, it is even more unexpected that you turn into a monster and start to fight them. These are the things which makes the story interesting. In the dungeons, you can collect gems, like in a platform game. The gems are healing you as you collect them. I think this is not really necessary as you can heal yourself easily and it does not add much to the value of the game. Is that a negative thing? You can ignore the whole thing. I just want to mention it. Maybe someone going to enjoy collecting gems in an RPG. So, let's see what did I like about Wild Arms 2. The game is quite easy. You don't have to grind mindlessly. You can breeze through the game. This can be a two-edged sword, as an easier game can turn away players who seek challenge, but if you want a more leisure experience and have fun without rage quitting, this game will be a good choice. The story is also interesting, and it's a nice difference from the usual RPG stories. There are some very strong moments when you really think like, damn, that is bad. And some situations which are very intense, and I truly enjoyed those. The graphics are good for PS1 standards, the towns and dungeons are detailed, and the general atmosphere is also very good. The weapon upgrade system is good, also a lot of different skills to choose from. And if a game can make me laugh or smile, it is definitely a positive thing, and Wild Arms 2 managed to do both. But what are those things what I don't like? First of all, the umbrella with the female character. Okay, just kidding. The pacing. It is very slow. It is possible that a lot of people are going to give up on the game before the story can start to develop. And also those missions and events which really feels like a filler to the main plot, and it could be completely removed from the game. The repetitive music, especially at the battles and on the overworld map. And the search function, fucking hell. I hope that this will not be included in the newer Wild Arm games. Sometimes the very cryptic puzzles where you need to walk through to solve them. Like a lot of RPGs in this era, you must speak to a specific NPC to advance the story. And sometimes it is not easy to figure out who you're supposed to talk to, so you wander around talking to every NPC. So would I recommend playing Wild Arms 2? You probably think that because I said a lot of negative things about the game, I'm going to say to skip this game, but it is not true. Despite those negative things, I still recommend to give this game a try if you think that those negative things can be tolerated by you. I would not ruin your experience. This is a solid JRPG, and I not felt that the negative things were so bad that I want to give up on the game. It has a slow pacing, has some frustrating things, but still it is worth giving a try.